Sit back and throw one back with your pinky in the air and a middle finger to the world, and join me, the eclectic gentleman Stephen Watts, as we look back on this day in pro wrestling history. But before we do, put that drink down, like, share, and subscribe, and without further ado, let's get our wrestling history on. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it is November 16th, and we're going to start off as we always do on a positive note. That's right. These are your pro wrestling birthdays. 1974, the luchador known as Starman. 1975, yet another luchador, La Infernal. Of course, on the flip side of that coin, your pro wrestling deaths for November 16th. 2020, the Bruiser. Alright, enough of the sad stuff. It's time to get to the meat and potatoes. That's right. These are your pro wrestling history highlights for November 16th. Jumping in the Wayback Machine and grooving to 1961, where we see Dale Lewis and Pat Kennedy defeat Hard-Boiled Haggerty and Bob Geigel for the AWA World Tag Team titles in Rochester, Minnesota. Haggerty held the belts with Gene Knitsky, but when the team broke up, Haggerty defeated Knitsky in a singles match and selected Geigel as his new partner. Leaping over the 70s and going straight to 1984, Crusher Blackwell defeats Harley Race for the Missouri State Heavyweight title in St. Louis, Missouri, ending Race's sixth reign with the belt and starting his own second reign. 3 years later, in 1987, WWF holds a Legends Battle Royal at the Meadowlands Arena in East Rutherford, New Jersey. It's interesting to note that at the time, the WWF rarely acknowledged other wrestling organizations or their history, yet this match contained many stars that achieved their fame outside the WWF. 72-year-old Lou Thesz won the Rumble, outlasting Nick Bockwinkel, Art Thomas, Bobo Brazil, Jay Strongbow, and others. Grabbing my flannel and going to the decade of grunge, 1992. The Sandman defeats Don Muraco for the ECW, at the time Eastern Championship Wrestling, heavyweight title in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Sandman would go on to become the only 5-time heavyweight champion in ECW history. 2 years later, in 1994, WCW held Clash of the Champions 24 in Jacksonville, Florida at the Jacksonville Coliseum, with a main event of Hulk Hogan, Sting, and Dave Sullivan defeating The Butcher, aka Brutus Beefcake, Avalanche, and Kevin Sullivan when Hogan pinned Sullivan. Mr. T was the special referee and hit Sullivan to set up the pin. Another 2-year jump, this time to 1996. ECW held their November to Remember event in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania at the ECW Arena, with a main event of ECW World Heavyweight Champion The Sandman defeating Raven with a DDT on the guardrail. Staying in 1996, Jerry Lawler defeats the Colorado Kid for the USWA Unified Heavyweight title in Memphis, Tennessee, to start his 25th reign of 5,675. And last but not least, 1998, Juventud Guerrera defeats Billy Kidman for the WCW Cruiserweight title in Wichita, Kansas, starting his third and final reign as champion. Those were your short but sweet pro wrestling history highlights for November 16th. I'm the eclectic gentleman Stephen Watts, and we'll see you tomorrow.